late on the schedule, so for a very brief introduction, I will say that my name is Nikola, and I'm a software developer for Microsoft.
Some problem with the microphone? Ah, no. Okay. My name is Ciprian. I'm also a software developer from Microsoft.
And today we'll be talking about currency exchange updates, OCR, and electronic document management. So, to start with the overview. Okay, just a second. Yes. So on this picture, you can see the full overview. This is the big picture which is showing you to which services Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2016 can integrate out of the box. So the boxes in blue are the services that were available from the version 2015. So we were able to integrate into AMC and get the bank feeds, and you were also able to send electronic statutory reports. And the boxes in green are the services that we have added during the 2016 release. So we have added automatic currency exchange rates from European Central Bank and Yahoo. You're also able to integrate into CRM and Microsoft Social Listening, so you can get feedback from the users. Then we have the electronic documents, and we support various different formats, PEPL, YoYo UBL, and MX. You're also able to send and receive the electronic documents through the Tradeshift. And lastly, we are able to do the OCR through the document capture. All of these services are connected and shown through this service setup page. So this page, if you navigate to it, you're able to see which services are installed on the system. For the next version, NAV 2017, we are planning to grow this list even further. So we'll integrate to more external services. So on the agenda for today, I'll start by demoing to you the currency exchange rate updates. Then Ciprian is going to show to you the e-invoices. And we'll finish by me demoing to you the OCR functionality that we have implemented. So for each one of these functionality, we will start with a brief demo, showing you how does it look to the end user. Then we will dig deep into the code and show you how does the code flow and some specifics around implementation. And lastly, some generic parts that you can reuse if there are any in the future. So to begin, for the currency exchange rate services, we have implemented automatic currency exchange rate updates. The reason why we needed to do this is because this is one of the commonly used scenarios from the end users, and most of you have probably implemented something similar. So most of the partners have hard-coded certain feeds that the customers are using. Thus, we needed to provide a freedom of choice, definitely with some limitations, because most of the users are going to be using the feeds from their own local banks. When we were designing the feature, we were not expecting that most of the users will pay, thus we do not have the authentication. We have focused on the free currency exchange rate services. And our goal was to enable you to do this entirely through setup without writing any code. So entire feature is designed to be data-driven. Success criteria for easy setup was that it must be easier than writing code. So this was a lesson that I learned from the senior developer who said to me, if you're writing a setup and it's much easier to write a code, it means that you're doing something wrong. And it's not correct. And for the node code modification, this is for the majority of scenarios, of course. We are not able to provide any integration out of the box. Thus, in few scenarios, you will have to modify the code. So, for the demo. We'll start with setting up the currency exchange rates from the ECB, and then we'll implement some of the harder. And I will demo to you how you can use the text transformations. So if you go to the setup page, that is here, we have provided Yahoo out of the box, but let's say that I would like to create a new one to the ACB, and I will just write European Central Bank in the description. Oops. And then for the service URL, I'll go here. Now, I need to tell to the system how to parse this XML. And the XML is looking like this. So European Central Bank, as you can see, is providing a very nicely formatted XML. So you can easily see what the date is, what the rate is, and what the currency is related to the euro. So in the system, I need to tell it where to find the currency information. So it is this node here. And the system is going to generate the expat expression. You can type it in manually if you want. However, it is much easier to use the lookup to fill it out. Now for the currency code, I can easily see that it is named currency and it's named US dollar. And starting date is here. And exchange rate amount is here. And relational exchange amount we hard code to 1, because it is always €1 to the foreign currency. Now, I can easily see on this page, through the preview function, if I have set it right. And system will tell me which information would be committed to the currency exchange rates if I was to make this service productional. So if I take a look at the exchange rate for Danish kroner, I can see it's 7.46, which means it is correct. So since this was a rather easy feed to implement, let's try something harder. Yahoo exchange rates, they have a bit harder feed. So if we take a look, how does it look like? We can go here. And you can see that they have connected the currency codes. So the first one is the source one, and the second one is the destination. So this is Great Britain pound to United Emirates dinar. Thus, to parse this text, we needed to provide some of the text transformations. So you can define them here through the UI. And basically, this rule is saying that I want 4th character to 6th character by defining it starts on the character 4, and it is length 3. And then the system is going to extract the part of the string and map it to the currency. Now, when I was preparing for this presentation, I was trying to find some really hard streams to parse. And the hardest that I managed to find was looking like this. So if you take a look, this is a really hard stream to parse, because basically if I was trying to make something harder to parse, I wouldn't be able to, because first, the currency codes, they are connected, and this is a very long string that is difficult to parse. This is growing depending on the name of the currency. Then the date is very difficult to parse because it has Thursday, November 9, so through the CL this would be impossible to parse. We would have to use the .NET interrupt. And the exchange rates are being done like this. So this currency feed is very hard to parse. So to answer the question, is this feed possible to parse with the current system? Unfortunately, the answer is no, because I was trying to set it up and I failed. However, now I can use my favorite sentence that I'm often using. It is working on my box, because while preparing for it, I have implemented a fix, so I will demo to you for the first time 2 or 3 additions that we will check into the product and release. So you will see how you can parse a harder string like this one. So if I go again to the currency exchange, and I create this new one, and I call it like this. And okay, I provide the source URL. Now, I need to do the mapping again, just a second. So the main item is this one here. Then the currency code is here. Then the starting date is this text here. Then the exchange rate amount is here. And the relational exchange amount is again 1. However, now I have to create the transformation rule for each one of these nodes. So for the currency code, I have to create a rule which says, so for this one, I will have to use a regular expression. So in the version that we shipped, the regular expression can only do the replace. So we have splitted it now, so you can specify, do you want to replace the text or do you want to match the text only? So this function will match the text. We have also added the ability to test the string straight on the page, so you can see if it is working or not. So from this one, I can simply take the title and paste it here. And now I have to specify a regular expression. So first, let's start by matching everything. So when I hit update, I get in the result what is going to be transformed. Now, let's try to match everything that is after GBP sign. And it works. So, and if I would like to get this value here, I need to tell to the system, please match everything that is in between the brackets after the GBP sign. Oop, I did something wrong. Just a second. Yeah, we can use. That's why the cheat sheet is here. And I get Australian dollar in the end. So, thanks. So, starting date is I'm going to demo this one before the starting date. So let's see that how we can exchange rate amount. And for the exchange rate, we can use the substring. We have extended the substring, so in case you do not like the regular expressions, some things can be parsed very easily. So if I take this one as a test, I can simply say to it, please start at the equal mark and end on the first blank sign. I have to put quotes because Microsoft Dynamics NAV is going to trim the white places, so you have to start with quotes. So if I say update, you can see that it is successfully parsing the amount. So in some cases, you can simply use the substring by providing the starting string and the ending string. So that one is going to parse the amount, and for the date, I need to create a new rule. Oops. And so if I copy paste this one, and I have it here. So if I say which format the date field is, and I say update, it doesn't work. So let's try now. Nope. Just a second. Yep. Okay, this one works. So I can see that the system has successfully parsed the date. So when I close it and I hit preview, let's see if anything is going to pop up. And I'm getting the currency exchange feeds from this RS feed. So this code is going to be checked in soon, and it is going to be, hopefully in the next release, maybe we will downport it to the previous versions. I can also share the objects via mibuso form. So getting back to the demo, on this page here, after you have set up the currency exchange rates, you need to enable it. And when you are enabling it, it is asking you, do you want to run this as a background job by using the job queues? So if I say yes, I get the job queue window, which is enabling me to say to the system, how often do I want to update the currency exchange rates? So you can here specify the recurrence to update every 5 minutes or to run it daily, and then the task is going to run. I can also go to the currencies. And I can trigger the update manually by using the update exchange rates. And this is going to update the exchange rates that are coming from the Yahoo service. We can see that the date has changed to today, to ones that are actually mapped on the ECB service. Okay, so that was for the demo. How it works? These were the components that we have used, and we have tried to make the system completely data-driven. Thus, we have used the data exchange framework as the backbone. If you're not familiar with the data exchange framework, it is basically, I would describe it as a data-driven generic XML port. So it is able to parse also comma-separated strings, and it's also able to parse XML. Since it is very difficult to define the data exchange definition, we have built the simplified UI. So the mapping that you have seen is an actual simplification on the data exchange setup table. We are also able to parse the JSON feeds, and for this purpose, we have implemented JSON to XML converter. And the text transformations were written as a separate library that you can reuse for any code that you would like. So we are just using it for this one. So this is the flow. User can start the procedure by using these 3 actions, either manually, or it can run in the background, or they can use the preview action as the test. When user starts the action, we will invoke the code unit that is called update currency exchange rates. And then from the setup table, we are going to read the URL. We will fetch the data. Then the question is it in JSON format or not? If it is in JSON, we have to convert it into XML. And then we land it into the data exchange table. Data exchange table is able only to accept the XML or the comma-separated files. Now, parsing part is being done by the generic parser first. So generic parser is going to read the definition, which is connected to the text transformation rules. Then it is going to store the parsed XML in the data exchange fields. And then we will call a custom mapping code unit that we have written to transfer the data into the currency exchange rates table. We needed the custom code unit because we wanted also to have the preview. So preview needs to run on the temporary table. And also we needed to provide some defaulting logic between the fields. Otherwise, there are also generic functions that you could use for your flows. So it's not necessary to implement this one. The boxes that are highlighted in blue in the image are the boxes that we have added specifically for the currency exchange rates, and everything else is highly generic. So you can see that only the beginning and the end is currency exchange specific. Now, defining the data exchange definition is rather hard because this is the page that you would use to create a definition. And it is very rich with the functionality. It has many fields. However, it is very difficult to use. Because after you're done doing the definition here, so on each of the paths, you would have to specify the XPath, you would have to specify the lines, some of the mapping code units. Then you would have to open another page where you're connecting the fields to the XPaths, and it has the 5 tables in the background. So it is a rather rich functionality. However, it is hard to use. For the simplified UI, we have replaced these 2 pages with a small subpart, and this is highly reusable. You can just put it on any page if you would like to do the similar mapping. The UI subpart is connected to the temp table, and the temp table is responsible for actually modifying and reading and writing to the data exchange definition that the generic parse can reuse afterwards. For the code that you have to do to surface this functionality, you have to add the part on the page and to add the following code on the page to connect it. So when you insert a record, this code is actually setting the suggested fields. You can tell to the user which fields are necessary to be filled. Otherwise, user can select them themselves. And on after get current record is actually populating the part if the definition is already there. So from the updated part, you need to set data exchange code and call the generic function that is updated. So as you can see, there is not a lot of code to be written to be reused. For the JSON to XML converter, if you would like to use this functionality, it is in this code unit, and you can use two functions, JSON to XML and JSON to XML create default root. The second function is not in the code that we have shipped. We have discovered it recently. And the problem is because XML needs to have a root node, and JSON doesn't. Thus, if you call the green function on the JSON that doesn't have a root node, it is going to fail. And the fix, as you can see, is very simple. You need to add the root node, just name it root, and then it is going to work. And for the last part, for the transformation rule, and this is, the entire code is implemented within this table, and the only function that you need to call after setting the fields is transform text. And then it's going to end up in this huge case statement that you can extend if you need any additional transformations. We have already received feedback from our MVPs that date and time formatting doesn't extract time, which we should also fix. So we are looking for the feedback in case you need something additional. Yep. So for the incoming documents, Ciprian.
So am I on? Yes, looks like. Hello again, everybody. I have to apologize a bit. My voice, it looks like I lost it a couple of days ago. So if I don't manage to finish, I'll do the demo and Nikola will do the talking. So I will talk about the electronic invoicing, and then Nikola will follow up with the OCR management. But first of all, I would like to go and make a small introduction into one of the features we released few releases ago, is the incoming documents feature. Just out of curiosity, how many of you used it or ever heard about this feature? Well, very popular feature, only 5 hands. So, what is this feature about? So I will do a bit of a demo, or actually an introduction to the feature. So if I'll connect to an NAV instance that we have on Azure, hopefully the internet works, yes. So incoming documents. It's pretty easy to find it, just search. So the initial feature was pretty basic. Maybe that's why it's not very used. It was mainly a repository containing a link to an external document repository like SharePoint, for example. So you could have the link here. And the idea was any documents you received in emails or, okay, one second. Looks like I have to share the screen.
I'll move it to the right, maybe.
Or move it, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now it's a bit awkward, but I'll try to deal with it. Did you have the same problem? No.
You can switch to this one.
Okay, let me switch to this machine because then I will see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. So if I find the USB port here. So okay, all good. So the incoming document feature, the initial functionality was pretty basic. So as I said, it was mainly a repository, and what you could do, if it opens, yes. You had this link to the external repository, and then, for example, the flow was the following. You go and open the actual document, and then you go and create here an incoming document into, document. So it's the wrong page, the wrong link actually, new again. It's a bit slow because it has a component, so it loads it. So you open the document from the SharePoint, and then you have some options here what you can, now we grouped in the new release into this common method, and then another functionality was supported. You have the approval functionality. You could release or reopen and reject. In the NAV 2016, we added quite a lot of functionality, and it's highly used in the electronic invoicing and in the OCR service, as Nikola will demonstrate that. You have you can create now the incoming documents in several ways. For example, you can, on a camera-capable device, unfortunately not this one, so I'm talking about tablets or phones, you have the options to create it from just taking a picture. And Nikola will demonstrate this during the OCR demo. Otherwise, let's say if you receive from your customer an electronic invoice, in my case, I choose the PEPL format. So let's choose this one. And wait a bit. What the page will now try to identify what kind of document is this one. So we implemented, let's call it a sniffing functionality. So it identify the data exchange type. So it is actually a PEPL invoice. And then the nice features we think we added is you have a peek view through what the document is about. So you have some financial information, as you can see. So you can see who sent you this document, so what is the party that sent you this document, some information about the party, what is the currency dates, and what are the amounts for this document. Then also something we added into NAV 2016, you have the option to create automatically a document. So using also the data exchange type, it will create, in this case, it will be a purchase invoice. So all quite fast and without almost touching the keyboard. Actually, if you use the workflow that's been released also in NAV 2016, you can do this without even seeing the document, posting and all this, releasing all this out of the box. So you also have an option to create a journal line based on the document you receive. If you don't want a document, you just want a journal line. You have a map text to account, and I have to say that in my previous demo, I will talk about, and I'll show you how to create automatically the document and how to use the map to text to account functionality. Then, in the end of the presentation, Nikola will talk about how the incoming documents are integrating into the OCR services. One more thing I have to mention, one more enhancement is now you can attach to the incoming document several attachments. So the first one, or the most important one, it is called the main attachment. You can see it here. That is called main attachment because it is the document that will be used in the flows for the electronic invoicing or for the OCR services. And then you have the option to attach more documents, and then they will be added as additional or supportive documents. So it can be an email or a picture or so on. So now if I switch back to the demo and I get rid of this, okay. Let's.
Yeah, but you can't get it.
How can I get this one? Yes, here. Close it. All good. So as a summary, so as I said, we have a backporting capability. So we have still the legacy support of creating the documents manually and doing the approval, but now it's using the workflow capabilities. Then we have added the automatic creation of the documents, so the sniffing functionality and getting the document and even creating and posting the actual document inside the NAV. We have support for main attachment and additional attachments. We have camera integration. You can take a picture and then send it to OCR and continue the flow, as you'll see in Nikola's demo. And then we have, as I said, integration with document exchange service and the OCR service. So that was, in short, about the incoming documents. So now let's go into the electronic invoicing. A small introduction about why electronic invoicing. So first of all, many and more countries are mandating to use the electronic invoicing in business to government. And this most probably in the near future will be mandatory also for business to business. Then in the current global market, every company might have business relations with companies from many countries, and so they have to support many formats. In order for the electronic invoices to work, you need a common vocabulary to use. And then for the small business, it's quite challenging from the point of view of cost. It's quite costly to support different formats, and they can be forced by big companies to support their own format, or for countries, they might have their specific format. So what do we think we need in NAV? We need a generic electronic invoice platform, so to be able to create these documents and consume them. We need to support the standard formats like PEPL and other standard formats, and then we need a common document exchange service. So what did we do to achieve this? In Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2016, we added standard support for international things. So for example, we added now the GLN on vendors and customers. GLN is a unique identifier of the companies. We added GTINs for the item numbers. We added, for the items, we added the tax codes, currency, and so on. Then we have a flexible sending option. So using the new feature of document sending profile, you can choose to combine how you want to send the documents to your customer. It's either electronically or as an email. You can do all at once, or you just choose separately. Then we have extensible formats. So out of the box, we support few formats. Globally is the PEPL. And then in some countries, we have some specific formats for the country, like OUEBL. And we think the way we developed this, it's pretty easy to plug in new formats, especially in the new sending profile functionality. And then we integrated into a free document exchange service. And that's what I will talk, and my demo will be about, integrating with the Tradeshift one service. And as I already mentioned, using the out-of-the-box workflow functionality, you can have an automatic process from receiving the document and even posting it. So all without touching the keyboard, all in the batch mode. Now, as I said, I'll talk about Tradeshift. Why did we choose Tradeshift? Well, if you check, their vision is pretty simple. They just want to connect every business in the world. Maybe they can do that. Hopefully they can. So the reason we choose them, they have support quite many formats. It's more than 20 formats. And we also think it's pretty easy to set up. And I'll try to show it in the next minute. So I will go into the demo mode. So I have 3 more or less big demos to show you. I'll start by showing you how you can set up Tradeshift. And then we already set up 2 Azure machines. One is company A and one is company B. So company A will be the sender of a document. So I'll show you how to send the electronic invoice to company B, that is the receivers. And then on the other side, I'll show you how to receive an electronic invoice. Just 1 second, excuse me. So let's get the demo. Okay. First of all, we'll start with the setup of the environment. So I have to mention that this has been done in 2 places, unfortunately for now. So first of all, you have to go on the Tradeshift site and sign up, create an account there, do the linking with your business partners, and then you have to do some setup in NAV. I have to mention that Tradeshift has two services. One is the production service and must be used only for production, as we were told. And then if you need demos, or as a developer you want to enhance or see how it is working, you have the sandbox or the test environment. That's what I will be using now. I was told that they are identical, but I noticed that sometimes the test environment is a bit underpowered. So let's see if... I already created the accounts in Tradeshift. Okay, I might have mistyped it, or I forgot the HTTP. So NAV conference 1 at, oops. Well, it's not my computer, so. And I love NAV as a password. I guess everyone feels the same. It takes some time. It's either wrong password or slow connection. I can try also with the competition. Slowly comes up. Yeah, well, yeah, it's mainly about the competition. Okay, now I lost track. Okay, we have to do it again. Conference 1 at outlook.com. At least we use the Outlook as an email provider. And I love NAV. Sorry about that. So there are 3 things you have to set up here. Well, first of all, you have to sign up. The sign-up process is pretty simple. It's the same as signing up for Facebook. You just need an email account. Then you'll get the confirmation, and you say, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that. Then you have to go here, if that works. And then you have to introduce your company details. So you accept the address, name, and some logo, whatever. The most important field in this scenario is the GLN number. It's the unique identifier of your company. That's how you will be found when someone sends you a document with Tradeshift. Then you have to add your business partner to the network. So you do it the same as you add a new friend in Facebook. So you send a request, and if the business partner accepts, then you are all set up. And the last part you have to set up, you have to install an app. What's the reason of that? From NAV, we use REST API calls to call into the Tradeshift account. So for that, you need to authorize. So the authorization keys are provided by the Tradeshift provider. They are easy to remember. As you can see, maybe you cannot really see, but and I'll show you what do you do with these keys. So that's kind of all on the Tradeshift side. So now if we come back to NAV, and if I find my, okay, here. To set up in NAV, there is also a few places you have to go. First of all, I already set it up before, but I'll just show you. In the company information, there is the new field that we added. The most important one in this scenario is the GLN. Then you can have also the VAT registration number. That can also work, but the GLN is the primary one. And then make sure that you have the SWIFT code and the IBAN filled in. And that's all about the company information. Then you have to set up the service. So as Nikola mentioned, we have the service connection overview implemented in NAV 2016 that shows you a nice overview of all the services that are available in NAV. So we'll just pick the document exchange setup. By default, you can do the set URLs to default. It will default to the production environment, so make sure you add -sandbox if you want to do it only for demo purposes. And then for the authorization, you just have to copy the keys that are on the Tradeshift site that I showed you on the app. So you copy the keys here and the tenant ID. You test if the connections, the settings are okay, it looks like they are okay, and then you enable the service. When you enable, same as for the currency exchange rates, there will be some job queues being generated. In this case, there will be 2 job queues, and I set them to refresh every minute. Why 2? One is used to check the document status, because when sending a document, it is an asynchronous process. So Tradeshift will say, yes, I received it, but then it takes a couple of seconds to dispatch the document, and you can get errors because of business firewall or whatever reasons. Then this queue will check to see if the document has been delivered or not. And then the second queue is used for receiving, and I'll talk about it maybe when I'll go to the receiving part. So, well, the slides don't say much. This is all about, well, actually, I forgot one important thing. I already created upfront a customer. I'll just show it to you. It's called company B. So except details about name, contacts, and whatever, again, the most important field is on the invoicing tab, if I'm not wrong. Is the GLN number. So make sure you have this filled in. And then, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the mini app. In the mini app, we have the send to functionality, and people said that it's quite nice, so they will want to have it in the big app. So we actually did a step forward. We implemented something we call it a document sending profile. So what is that? If we open the one that I already created for this customer, it's a way to say, how do I want this document to be sent? I can print it, I can email it, I can send it to disk, all at the same time or separately. And then I define this document type, the document profile, and then I assign it to customer or to group of customers. For my scenario, I just choose that I want to send it through document exchange service, and I want to use the PEPL 2.0 format, because for now, Tradeshift does not support PEPL 2.1. And then the formats, it's something that are defined in the electronic document formats. So out of the box, we support exporting 4 documents. It's the sales invoice, sales credit memo, service invoice, and service credit memo. And we support two formats, PEPL 2.0 and PEPL 2.1. The way we structure this, we have, so the XML is generated by XML port, and we just have some code units as a wrapper on the XML port. And in my last demo, I'll try to show you how to add a new format. So now let's go to the second part of the demo, because that's all. I hope I didn't forget anything about setting it up. We'll not switch to the slides because it just says demo sending a document. So let's try to send a document. So we'll create a sales invoice. I will say new. I will choose the newly created customer. So what I will sell, this is the mini app, but I actually don't want the mini app. Yes. Misspelled, so Nikola, any help? Do you know how do I get the non-mini app? Is this one?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. Yeah, that looks like better. Well, the reason I don't want the mini app because I want to be able also to put an item charge. Okay. So I will sell the famous bicycle. Let's put 2 pieces of it. And then I'll put an item charge. I'll put some freight. And let's say 1 is for 100 GBP, most probably 100, it's enough. Then we just go on the Actions tab, or actually on the Home. Do post and send, and here it comes into the picture the default sending profile that we choose. So that's what, and I just say, okay, yes. Oh, of course, I forgot to invoice the freight, so I will go here, assign the item charge assignment, a bit of supply chain, or suggest item charge assignment, yeah, doesn't matter. Close, and let's try again. So what it's saying now that the document is sent to the service provider, but that means it's just sent. Then we have an option to see what happened on the service provider. So we can wait for the queue to process the document, or we can directly go and check the document because we added the status. So there are a few documents. I did some trying before. It says that it's already sent to the, delivered to the recipient. So the other party must have received it. So that's all about sending the document. Now, let's go on the company B. So on company B, you have similar setup or similar check. You have to go and verify that the company information is properly filled in. So the GLN number, check that it is populated, and then you check the service connection page. It's a bit slow sometimes, or it's not my machine. And do the same check for the document exchange service. So it's already pre-filled, it's already enabled. I already copied the authorization keys for my company. And then I have to make sure that the job queue for the receiving part, it's ready. It says enable. Well, what happens on the receiving part? This job queue will poll Tradeshift. Is anything new for me? Anything new for me? And in the moment there is something new, it will pick that document in the original format, if there is any, or in the TSUBL format that Tradeshift provides, and then it will create, or it should create an entry in the incoming documents page. So let's see. Now I have to remember which one was the invoice, 034. Oops, too many pages. I think it's this one. What was the total? 8,100, yes. So as you can see, I'll show more. The sniffer identified that it's a PayPal invoice. It displays the financial information, the summary of it, and it looks like it's the one that I sent previously from company A. So now let's try to create the purchase invoice into our system. Before doing that, I will show you that I already create a vendor in the system. If we go to vendors, so I search for company. It's the company A, and again, the important field there is the GLN number that is here. You can double check, well, not really, because you don't have the access to this, but it's not fake, it should work. So now let's try to create the document inside the NAV. We'll hit this button, and this will just go and try to create the document, but it says that there are some errors. So which are the errors? Now in NAV 2016, we actually also propose it as a pattern. We have error messaging where we collect all the errors into one place. So the errors here, there is a bit of a problem because they are too long and they don't really fit nicely into this, but maybe that will be fixed. The errors are mainly about the items that I put on the initial invoice. So I sold a bicycle and a GL account. I have to mention that all the other non-item things that you put on the sales line will be treated as GL accounts when coming in on the receiver side. So to fix this, so let's go first to the bicycle. First of all, I have to double check what the error says. It says the company A couldn't find item number 1000. So we click this. I know that item number 1000, let's say, is the touring bicycle. We go here and we do the vendor. So it's the company A. If from company A you receive this item number 1000, then it should be a touring bicycle. Let's try to create the document again. It's still not working because we just fixed the problem with the item. Now we have to fix the problem of the charge. So to do this, we use the map text to account functionality. Here you can define some global ones. So for anything you have, just use this. Or we can be more specific and we create some text. Unfortunately, for now, you have to put it exactly as it is. And it says freight charge JB Spedition. So let's try it. JB, okay, now JB Spedition. And then I want them to be posted to these accounts. I think it will be the debited account if I'm not totally wrong. So let's try again. I was not very lucky, I forgot. I misspelled something, as I can see. Double D. Is it? No. Spedition, was it like this? I don't have a cheat sheet. Spedition, hopefully. Well, now it takes longer, so I might be lucky. So it says that the purchase invoice has been created. I can easily access it by saying open record. So this is my purchase invoice. So I have 2 items of the bicycle and 1 charge. And the totals are matching. If the totals will not match or the VATs are different, I'll get some warnings in the error on the incoming document page. And then I decide what I do with that. That's all. You can follow, then you can approve the document, post it, and that's it. Now let's go back to the presentation. I'll go. Oh, you switched. Did you switch? Okay, good. How it works? Well, I would say that 1 picture worth 1,000 words. I would say 1 picture worth, in this case, 1,000 lines of code. Or I will not show you a lot of code, but I'll try to talk about the design and just showing you some diagrams. So what components did we use in the Tradeshift integration? And not only, also other service integration are similar. So we have a communication manager. I'll talk about it. We use also the data exchange framework to create the entities. We have the document sending profile that I just talked about it. I hope you remember that. The error and warnings, and also we have an activity log that is trying to log what are the activities that have been processed manually or by batches. So I'll try to take one by one and talk mainly about the first 2. So the communication manager, yes. What is the idea? We call it a communication manager, but it has few components. So the main component is a code unit. In this case, is 1410. That is responsible with communicating with Tradeshift. And there are some dependencies. First of all, this is like a wrapper on the generic HTTP web management code unit. And then it uses also, because connecting to the Tradeshift requires authentication, we decided to use a .NET add-in for obtaining the signature. I personally hate to do a lot of string manipulation in CAL, so I found it much easier to do it in .NET, so I just created a .NET add-in, and that will provide the signature. To get the signature, you will have to use the setup parameters that are saved in table 1275, the setup table. So the communication manager is responsible for sending requests to Tradeshift, and then receiving responses and processing them. Then I'll try to explain, a bit about what happens when you send the document. So the flow is, the user goes on the post-it, on the invoice, that's not, or on the post-it invoice, and then it chooses send to. In this case, it will do in the sending profile, we'll select to a document exchange service, Tradeshift. Then behind the scenes, what is happening, it also selects the format, what format he wants to use it. So behind the scenes, the export document sending profile will call into code unit 1600. It depends on the document type. And that is just the wrapper, as I explained, to the XML port that will do the export. Then this is packed, sent to the communication module that I talked just a few seconds ago, and that will send it to Tradeshift. Well, here it's a bit more communication. It's because sending a document is in few steps. First, it's putting the document, then it's dispatching it, and then it treats any errors it has. And then this happens all at once. And then as the process is asynchronous, I have this job queue in between to check what is the status. And all this is being logged into an activity log table. On the receiving side, we have another job queue that calls every, 1 minute, 5 minutes, depends on how you set it up, calls into this code unit 1421 that is just actually calling the communication module. The communication module will poll Tradeshift. Do I have anything new? Do I have anything new? When it comes, it picks it up, and as you saw, it puts it in the incoming document page. And then it does one more call. It marks on the Tradeshift side that this document is processed. So next time it's doing the polling, it will not process it one more time. That's all about the communication module. Then the data exchange definitions. These are the two that we have out of the box. So it's the PayPal credit memo and the PayPal invoice. And the flow is like the following. The document is the input, it's the XML file. So we use the data exchange framework to parse this file. So it's using the definitions and puts the data into data exchange tables. Then we have a custom, we try to call it generic code unit 1214 that will extract this data into a generic table. It's called 1214 also. And the data in this table looks like this. Actually, it tries to say this value should go into this table and to this field. But this is like an unprocessed data because that's what we get from the file. But in our system, we should identify what's the customer, what's the item, and so on. So for that, we have code unit 1217 that will process the data further. So it will identify what's the customer number, the item number, and so on. And then the last step, we use code unit 1218 to pull this data from this table and push it into the actual entities, the purchase header and purchase lines, as per my example. These code units 1218 and 1217 are pretty bounded to the actual result, so to the purchase header and lines. So moving forward, I will skip this, but I'll advertise a bit. Tomorrow we have another session about design patterns, where we will talk a bit more in detail, maybe about these errors and warnings. I'm a bit late, and then also about the activity log. There are two patterns that were proposed in this NAV 2016 development. And then I will try to go about extending the functionality. I had planned for 2 functionalities to be extended, but I don't really have time for both of them, so I'll just explain about this first one and I'll provide the code. It's already done in the next release, so maybe it will be ported. Is extracting additional attachments. So the PayPal XML supports adding attachments to it. So it has a base 64 encoding, and you can put emails, images, whatever you want. And then the demo was about how to extract these attachments. So it still keeps the PEPL document as the main document, so it will be the main attachment, and then it will pull also the eventual additional attachments. It can be the email that you received from your customer, or a picture with Christmas greetings and so on. Code is pretty simple. It's like 5 lines of code, and you're done. Then the second demo, that I will try to do it right now, it's pretty straightforward, is how do you add additional formats. So Nikola, you closed my, oh, sorry, not Visual Studio. Will not develop anything in Visual Studio right now. I need Seaside actually. Does it work on your machine? Okay. So let's suppose that you have a customer asking you, or there is a rule from the specific country to support PEPL 2.2. Let's say that will come, or any other format. You can choose to implement it any way you want, or you can choose also our way of implementing it. As I said, we have, can you see it? Yes. We have an XML port that will generate the actual XML file. So I'll pick one of these, let's say PEPL 2.1. And in my demo, I'll be pretty lazy. And I'll just renumber it and change the name. So I'm done implementing the PEPL 2.2 version. That was pretty fast. So you can do the same, or actually doing the real implementation of the new format you want to support. Then there is one more step you have to do. If you go to 16 range, I think. Oops. I will do the same. Copy-paste programming, more or less. So I picked this export sales invoice. I will renumber it also. Put it 1610. Maybe it's a bit too many. And I'll call it 2.2. And then I have to do one more thing, because this is using the, I have to get used to this keyboard. Okay, here it is. It's using the PEPL 2.1, so I want to make it PEPL 2.2. And the end is here. Just change this. Save. And then if we open the NAV locally, it's already here. I told you the document sending profile has 2 parts. First is the electronic document format. So we'll just go here and do again what we did by now, just copy paste. F8, we call it 2.2. Nikola is being a bit nervous, I'm a bit late. Okay. It is a sales invoice, and then I'll use what code unit to create it, 1610, that I just created. Not this, but 1610. Yes. And come on. It's thinking. I don't know why. I don't think I did anything wrong. Nikola, help. Your machine doesn't listen to me.
Okay.
Let's try again. Restart Windows. Sorry. Yeah, it works, but okay. Now you can optionally add a validation. So that will validate that before posting and trying to generate the document, it will generate into a valid PEPL document. So I'll put it F4 sales validation, and I'll use the same 1620. And we are almost done. I'll just go into the document sending profiles and update my current profile. I'll create a new one. I'll call it PayPal 2.2. Then I say send the electron, and then magically I should see the new one here. Here it is. So then I'm kind of done. What is next? You go to the sales invoice. Oh, invoice, not order. Come on, yeah, do new. I'm not sure you have, you didn't have, so I'll put customer 10,000. This is the local installation. We are not on the, so we'll do post and send, let's say. And I just want to show you that you will have it also here. Here it is. So you select, you say yes, and eventually it will work. So it's that easy. You just have to code how you want, what is the export. You plug it in few lines into the, in not code, but just in the UI, and you're done. Then you are ready to rock. I think that's all I had for today. If you have any questions,
So if you have,
that was not me. It's not done. It's not yet done because Nikola is next. Hello. I wanted to say that I am done, not Nikola. Sound? Okay. Nikola?
So,
Okay. So Nikola, document management.
yes, so
OCR.
for the last part, we will show you the OCR functionality. So OCR is being used so you can capture the documents and you can transfer them into the invoices quite quickly. So we were aiming for the scenario where you're processing a lot of paper documents or you're sending it to the external accounting service to do it for you. Thus, it needed to be automated. So the benefits that we tried to do is to enable an easy way to capture an invoice, to store it, and to extract the header information. The entire flow is possible to be automated through the workflow. And also it is later possible to find the original receipts that were connected to NAV invoices. So entire functionality is implemented by using Lexmark invoice capture service. It's also called ReadSoft. And basically, it's cloud-based. You can get the account and be up and running in 10 minutes. For all of the Microsoft NAV users, we have made the following agreement. It's called freemium, and you can leave whenever you want. There is no setup fee, and you can get the free subscription up to 75 invoices in month. If you are over the limit, in the small text up there says it is $1 per additional invoice to be scanned, but there is also a subscription account that is $105 a month, and then scanning additional invoices is $50, I think. So, to show you a demo, so let's say that I'm a user, and I'll connect my phone. Okay. Let's just see. Okay. Yes, and I have installed the Microsoft Dynamics NAV application. And you can see on the role center for the small business, I have a camera option. And this camera action can only be shown if the device that I'm using has a camera on it specifically. So if you open this role center in the Windows client or web client, it will not be visible. So if I take a camera, now I can take a look at this printed invoice that I got from the bicycle traders. I purchased some bicycles from my company. And we can see that they are a trustworthy company because they are using NAV and worth reporting. So this is going now to upload the picture into NAV. And I can see that my incoming documents number has changed. So I can also take another picture from the camera. No, not that one. Up. Okay, more junk. So, yeah. So to take one picture of the audience. Yay. Cool. Yep. So all of these items have ended up in the incoming documents. And I can see it here. So if I open the incoming document to see how it looks like. Come on. I can see it looks exactly the same as the photo that I have taken. Yeah. So basically, it is, I'll show you the actual invoice. If I go back. We'll use this one for demo because the lighting here is horrible, so nothing would show up. But the actual photo is, I think, here. Hello? Yeah, glitches. Well, let's just continue it in the web client. Okay, to close the phone. Projection app, F4. So, if I go to the web client instance and the incoming documents, the photo that I have taken is here. Yes. So, in order to get the OCR up and running, you have to first subscribe for the OCR service, and then you need to set it up in the NAV. And you can do it by opening the OCR setup, and they will provide you a username, a password, and the authorization key. You type in the service URL, and then you can say test connection. And it is going to tell you if it is connected successfully or not. And you can select the default OCR template. Default OCR template, you select it when you subscribe for these services. For this account, we are using Danish invoices and Swedish invoices. So if I use the Danish invoices and mark the service as enabled, same as all of the other services that you've seen today, we can also automate it through the job queue windows. So you can automatically receive and send the OCR invoices. So if I go back to the photo that I would like to send, all that I have to do here is that I can either send it to the job queue, or if it is really urgent, I can send it to the OCR service. So if I invoke this action, and the document was sent successfully to the OCR service, and I can maybe send another document to the OCR service. Let's see. So this invoice is a different one. So if I say send to OCR service first, this invoice is from White Away. So let's see how it looks like. It is looking something like this. So it's a different document than the one that I have sent. So let's see if the Readsoft has processed it. The speed actually depends on the time of the day, so how many requests their services has. So now you can ask receive from the OCR service. And I can see that the document was successfully received. And it has extracted some data here. So it says that it's from this vendor, and this is the VAT registration number. So I can dock it and compare it to the actual invoice. Just let's see if it is 100% correct. So it says Bicycle Independent Traders. Yes, that's the company's name. And VAT registration number is correct. And gyro number is correct. Vendor invoice number is correct. The currency code is correct. And it hasn't extracted, for some reasons, the amount including VAT. So I can correct that by using the actions. And I have here the action correct OCR data. And here I can type in the actual amount, which was 42,500. Now, you can also send feedback to the OCR service, and their service is taking this feedback and it is trying to learn. So for every new invoice that is trying to process, it should become smarter as such. So I can send them a feedback in order to get better results in the future. And now from this invoice, I can create a document. So if I select create a document, this is of course going to fail because I'm lacking some setup. And it says it cannot find the appropriate GL account for this vendor. The reason why we need a GL account is because OCR is only able to extract header data. So all of the invoice information needs to end up on the GL account. So in order to set it up, I will need to enter the vendor name here and type in the debit account number. Let's say it's this one, for example, and the credit one, and our balancing source type is a vendor, and it is his account. No? Yep. So if I close this one and try to create a document again, it is successful with warnings. And if I open it, it says that the information that I have in the system, how much this item cost, is mismatching his invoice. So I can either go and update the data that I have or simply just post an invoice. And here's the invoice that you can see. It was created with the vendor and everything was transferred to the GL account. We added the option, if you made a mistake, you can just simply remove a reference and delete the record. And you can also transfer it to the journal line, as such. So if I open the journal line, you will see that the account is here, and also vendor balancing account was set to the thing that I have specified. So let's see what happened with this one. So if I edit it, and I say receive from the OCR service, yep. So it recognized that the VAT is the vendor, VAT registration number is correct, bank account number is correct, invoice number is correct, order number is correct, and it managed to extract all of the data. So just to show it, because this invoice was a bit better scanned, so it was probably higher resolution than the previous one. So let's see. So you see that the just a second. You see that the amounts are matching, VAT is matching, total including VAT is matching, CVR number is VAT number, and other information is also correct. Okay, so that was for the demo. To switch back. We are only able to extract the headers, but if you would like, you can extend the invoice capturing system, and for that you need to become a Lexmark partner, and they will enable you to use their SDK. Thus, you can write the missing part, and that is mapping the invoice lines to the actual items. They are also allowing you to resell the OCR instances, and this slide was taken from the directions. I do not know exactly what the details are. However, there is the opportunity for you if you would like to become a Lexmark partner and partner with them around OCR functionality. So extracting the lines is possible by using their SDK. However, it is not working out of the box. So for the code, how does it work? It can start as a manual action, or it can start through the job queue. We are using two different code units to invoke it. And then this blue box is actually the one that is doing the communication with the readsoft. If the sending was successful, we will invoke the event in the code unit 133, and this event is being used for workload purposes. You can also use it to extend, but basically it's there for the automation. And we are, of course, logging both successes and failures into the activity log. Receiving, it's similar as sending. However, the important parts here is to understand that we will create a new incoming document attachment, which will be the XML, and then we treat it the same way as we are treating all of the electronic documents. So the flow that you saw in Ciprian's demo is going to take over from there. Important thing to mention here, which is the last thing, is that this code unit, which is called OCR Service Management, unfortunately, it is very read-soft and Lexmark specific, so the name is maybe a bit misleading. So you may think it is a generic one, however, it is very Lexmark specific. Yes, which is the same for Tradeshift as Ciprian is adding. So if you would like to extend or change this functionality, you can either change this code unit, or you can follow the same implementation that we did and use the different objects. Yep, so for the summary, so we have demoed to you the currency exchange rates, how you can set it up, and the demo data-driven setup. Ciprian has shown you electronic documents, sending and receiving PEPLs and extending it. And lastly, the OCR. We will not demo today because we are running out of time how you can automate the entire process through workflow. So you'll have to trust our word. It is possible to automate from taking the picture from the camera to creating an actual document that user doesn't have to do a single click in case of no errors. And there is also a session about workflow where you can learn more about the functionality, which is one of the additional reasons why we decided not to demo it today. Yep, so there is more information at this link, and we are open for Q&A. So for the first 5 questions, we have 5 t-shirts. Yes. Yes? Do you have a microphone?
Maybe not.
Or live, just yes. You want a t-shirt? Okay. Mm-hmm.
And you had this text-to-account mapping.
Yes.
Is it planned to add this text formatting code unit, which you showed in the other part, the currency exchange rate?
Yes. So the question is, for mapping text to account that we have shown for the vendor, are we planning to transformations? And the answer is no, unfortunately. You can do it. So, if we get enough feedback from you guys, we will do it. So that's the thing. Here's the t-shirt. Yes?
Where are the documents stored?
The documents are stored in the incoming documents table, incoming document attachment table. So it is local in the NAV, and you can also store them externally, but then you have to use a link, and that's it.
Well, I know some partners did implementation when they store them in the Azure Blob or other parts of it.
Yeah, when
Not
is
only in
Microsoft
NAV.
going to start issuing them?
When?
When is Microsoft going to start using the e-invoicing themselves?
I really don't know. I'm not into the accounting, so I honestly do not know what we use for invoicing. Yeah. I think they're using AX, but I'm not sure. Yes? Yes?
What about the template? If I change the template,
For what?
it will be okay or not?
Yes, it should be. They're not using template for much.
Okay, so
Yes,
that's
and if on their site you can also define the template. I'm not sure if it is part of the free package or not, but you as a developer can also create additional templates. So you can do the mapping for the OCR and tell it where does each mapping comes from and these kind of things.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, there are some questions on the other side. Oh, okay.
In the beginning of the session, we saw that you could map an XML to data fields, and you can transform the text. Looks like it's only one function with a case statement you can extend. Will it be possible in the future to actually nest functions?
Yes, it will be. I didn't manage to make it, but it will be, yes.
Okay.
That was the plan as well. Yeah. Thank you.
On the other side, there are some people.
So for Croatia, we also need to provide the e-documents for government. Is there a possibility for our existing customers to do it on previous versions with what you've shown today to use it, or there is some technological limit, so we need to figure out another way to do it?
You mean for Tradeshift? Or for Tradeshift integration, if you can send the...
It's an e-bill, so it's just sending documents to government.
I think you can just take the same approach that we did. So as far as I know, we didn't use any new platform functionality.
No, the platform functionality, there is nothing new. So I'm pretty sure
actually
Tradeshift will also
we could
support
just
that.
merge it and use it.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we are mostly using .NET Interop, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you would have to port the CL objects, because you will be missing tables and these kind of things, right?
Thank you.
Maybe a last one?
Yeah.
If the invoice line of an incoming
okay.
invoice has the description travel or a plane ticket to Madrid.
Okay.
So how do I find my account number?
That's a problem, because you can only map account number to a vendor, right? So that's a limitation. And to tell you honestly, I don't know if it is a big limitation for you or not.
And even if I make
So,
a definition of the text to the account number, it can be several accounts.
Yes.
For instance, for several people.
Yeah,
or
then you would
departments.
have to do the lines manually, which is not so nice, but yes. That's the problem, because with the SDK that we have, we cannot touch the lines. We are not getting any information about the lines. Thus, we cannot do any decisions based on the lines.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But if you have more questions, you can approach us and we'll be happy to answer.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for today.